Greetings everyone. In this video I want to talk about installing a Batocera retro gaming operating system on a 10-year-old 5th generation Intel NUC mini PC. Just to show it can be done, and not old, just because the PC is a few years old doesn't mean it's useless. So let's get to it. So a quick note here before we get started. Actually, I did a previous video where I did some maintenance updates, repasted the PC I'm going to be using in this video. At the time of making that video, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be using Batocera or not. By the time I got around to making this one, before I published the second one, I knew, so I put the title in the name. That's why it's there. So yeah, there were some other choices out there. Yeah, like I say, there were some other choices like Retro Pi or Chimera OS. Is that how you pronounce that? Anyway, for this go around, we're going to go with Batocera. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that there were a few issues with Batocera I found when doing this install, that they either were not covered in some of the tutorials, not all of them, and a few of them weren't really covered at all. But anyways, we'll get into those as we go through this video. But the first one is that Batocera is an image. It's not an ISO file. This sort of changes things when it comes to installing it. Now, I have to admit, the Batocera interface is pretty slick. There are a few tricks to using it, though, if you're not familiar with it, because Batocera is a custom-built Linux distribution. There is no operating system. There's just the interface. There's a couple of ways to interact with it using SSH or SMB, but we'll cover those. And one final note I want to bring up before we get too into this is that I don't have a capture card, and I have no real way of capturing the video running Batocera except via this camera and my cell phone camera. So that's what I'm using when I'm doing the work. So I just wanted to apologize for not having the capture card up front. Maybe one of these days I'll get one and be able to hook this all up, but not today. So let's get to it. Okay, something I needed to take care of from the previous video. Power adapter. I found two of them in my stock of stuff since my 5th generation Intel NUC didn't come with one. Either one of these produces 19 volts at the requisite 3 point, I don't remember what the amperage is, but it works out to 65 watt power supplies. Specifications say you can use a 12 volt to 19 volt. I'm guessing the NUC probably draw max around 45 watts. Probably going to use the one here on the left. It's a smaller single unit. This one on the right requires another cord, but we'll just see when I get around to the final place where I'm going to put this, which one will work out better, but either one will work. The other thing I needed to get, and I found one digging through my connectors. This is a mini DisplayPort to HDMI adapter. So this will allow me to hook the console PC, my 5th generation NUC, to the TV set and to my monitor where I'll be testing it initially. So those are the two things I needed to pick up and have ready when I do the actual install and testing. Okay, so this is going to vary depending on the computer you're using, but on this particular NUC, I have to press the F2 key to enter the firmware, or the Intel Visual BIOS as it's called. So we'll hook up a keyboard and a mouse, and we'll go ahead and press F2 as we're booting the computer. We can go through this firmware and we can check that all the cards and drives are recognized properly. We can set the cooling parameters, things like that. Boot order, and once we get everything set up, we can go ahead and reboot. For cooling on this thing, I'm going with, instead of the balanced option, the NUC BIOS has what's called a cool option. The fan runs at 40% up to about 70 degrees, and it increases by 2% for every degree of temperature increase after that. Was it 2 degrees, 4 degrees? Anyways, it increases as it goes up, and it makes a little more noise, but yeah, we'll live with that. We just want this thing to run cool. So once we've gone through the BIOS, the firmware, the UEFI firmware, we're going to go ahead and install What we're going to do is boot into a couple of Linux distros, specifically Arch and Fedora. They have live distros which have a lot of tools for validating the PC is running correctly, so that's what we're going to do first before we install it. I'm using Ventoy for this. You can write these things directly to a bootable disk, or you can just copy them over to a Ventoy disk. If there's interest, I'll do a video on Ventoy, but let me know in the comments. The first one I'm going to boot into is Arch. The Arch installer is a live system. It provides a command line interface, and that is it. I mean, everything's there to test the PC, but I know a lot of people would prefer a more graphical experience, so we'll go ahead and reboot into Fedora with the KDE spin. And once we're into Fedora, we'll go ahead and test all the various things. We'll set up some Bluetooth, we'll set up the Wi-Fi, we'll test all the drives, etc., etc. We're going to run this thing for a couple hours and monitor the temperatures, and we'll call that good for initial testing. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to get the Batocera download, and as I said before, this is an image file. It's not an ISO. Most Linux stuff comes as ISOs. This is actually similar. Oh, one thing I didn't know, Batocera is a Beetle of some sort. Anyways, the ISO file, not an ISO file, image file, when you boot from the USB, you are going to be running the actual Batocera program off the USB drive. I mention this here because any configurations you do initially are not going to last through transferring Batocera to an internal drive. So it is a little different. A lot of tutorials don't really stress the difference, and like I say, you're going to be booting in and running a live Batocera. You're going to be able to write to the USB. It's not a read-only type of thing. So once you boot up, again, limited configuration, because at some point you're going to have to do all that again when we load it to an internal drive. Anyways, we go to the Batocera website. We're going to want the desktop, PC, laptop, Nook, Intel-based Apple version. They got a lot of different versions depending on what PC you're running. And we're going to download it. It's a 3.8 gigabyte file. Another issue, at least for me, the Batocera website was incredibly slow. I don't know if other people get it faster. I couldn't find a mirror, but it was incredibly slow. So I'm going to drop everything onto the desktop. I'm going to extract it because it comes in a zip format. And then we want to copy the Batocera to a USB stick. It's recommended 16 gigs or above. I'm going to say right now, this is another problem I found. I had a couple of 16 gig USB sticks that did not work with Batocera. They kept giving me an error that they were full. I had a couple other USB sticks, 16 gig, that worked fine, but rather than risk this, I'm just going to jump to a straight 32 gigabyte disk, which works all the time. Now, if you're running Windows, you can use Rufus or Baleen Etcher. If you're running Mac, you can use Baleen Etcher. If you're running Linux, Fedora in this case, I'm going to be using the Fedora Media Writer, and I'm also going to do it with the DD command if you want to get back to generic command line basic stuff. These all work pretty similar. You identify your USB stick, you identify the file you want to load, and then you write it. With DD, we're going to open the command line, and so we don't have to type pass, we're going to go to the desktop where the files sit, and then we're going to issue we'll do an LS first to look at what our drive's called. I've got an SDA and SDB here. We'll go back once we plug in a USB stick. And now we have an SDC, so we know our USB stick is dev SDC. So we will do DD space IF for in file, and then our image file, OF for out file, and our path to our USB drive. We want to use status progress so we can see what's going on, and then conv equals fsync. It will sync everything up after the install is complete, or the copy is complete. And then we'll just let it run. And yeah, we need to use sudo. Can't forget that. And I'm not going to bore you with watching it run through this whole thing, so we'll just fast forward. So on our first boot, we're going to plug in the newly created Batocera USB stick, and we're going to boot from it. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to detect the USB stick, boot from it, and then it's going to do some checks and adjustments to your USB stick. Let this finish. Don't interrupt it. It may 10 seconds, it may take a minute, whatever it takes. Let it get through this. Like I say, this is a live Batocera instance, and that's why it's doing the checks. Once we boot into Batocera, it's going to ask you about the internal drives because it's detected them. We don't want to ignore them. We don't want to use them at this point because we're going, well, again, I think I said it earlier, but any configuration we do on this live USB is not going to copy over to our internal drives. There's no point doing it, so just use the no ignore this time. We'll do that for both, and then we'll be dropped into the Batocera interface, and you can see there are some BIOSes and a few ROMs or games already installed. You can go through and look at what's there. But before we actually copy the Batocera image to a hard drive inside our PC, we're going to need to set up the network. We need to do this because it's not going to copy the image on a USB. It's going to download a fresh image, which is going to take time. At least for me it does, because the Batocera site for me is slow. If you have a direct connection, you should already have an IP address. Otherwise, you're going to have to connect to your Wi-Fi. Standard, your Wi-Fi name and password, and then once you back out and then go back in, you'll see you have an IP address now. Now we can go ahead and in the system settings, scroll down to install on a new disk. This is where the second place I ran into problems, because again, it's going to download a whole new Batocera image, which takes time, plus on certain 16 gig USB sticks, it gave me an out of storage error. So I'm using 32 gigs. And I'm going to install it to the Crucial, because I know that's the NVMe. Well, it's not NVMe, it's M2.SATA. The SanDisk is a 2.5 inch SATA. We get our target, and then now we got to wait for it to download. And once it's downloaded, it will load the new image onto that drive. It'll format it, reformat it. Any data on it will be lost. And once it says finished, we can power off and remove the USB stick. Okay, now we're going to boot in. After we move the USB stick, we're going to go ahead and boot into our Batocera on our drive. It's going to go through the same routine again. It's going to detect a new install. It's going to make some adjustments. Let it do this. Let it get through all this. And this time when we have a storage drive, there should only be one, so we're going to go ahead and format it and use it. Then once Batocera finishes loading, we're back to the main interface, and then we're going to have to again set up our Wi-Fi interface. If we're using Wi-Fi, if we're using a direct connection, you should already have an IP address. Now I'm going to go ahead and just to prove some things are working, the Wi-Fi we hooked up, now I'm going to hook up a Bose, my Bose wireless Bluetooth speaker, because I don't have any audio on my monitor to test that part of it. And it does connect. And we can jump into some games here. Like I say, there's some simple ones for like the Commodore 64 that are already installed you can play around with. There are things we're going to want to do later. But for right now, we've got it up and running. We'll do a reboot, and then I'm going to try a couple things. So first thing, I'm going to open up a terminal and SSH. I've got the IP address. The Batocera user is root. The password is Linux. Yes, very insecure. You'd probably want to change these. But you will end up in the Batocera SSH shell, where you can do configuration. You can do configuration to the Batocera interface, but you can also directly do it here. That would be another subject for another video. Next, we're going to go ahead and open our file browser, go to network, SMB, however you access SMB shares on your browser. You may have to check your browser's documentation, and we can see that Batocera shows up here. This is the method you're going to use to copy ROMs and other such files. that you need, games, what have you, ISOs over to the Batocera system. And again, that's like a whole other video. But you can see the shared file structure, the BIOS, games, libraries, recordings, ROMs, saves, all that stuff's here. So, yeah. And that's it. Batocera is set up and running. I just need to move it down, and at some point I'll get around to doing another video where I set up my controllers. But again, that's for a later time. Okay, that looks like it's the end for this particular video. I've gotten Batocera installed, up and running. There's a few actual games and things installed. Yeah, you got to be aware though that Batocera, to emulate certain other gaming consoles, needs ROMs. These ROMs and BIOSes, ROMs and BIOSes, they're not free, but you need them to run the game. So there are lots of sources for them. You just need to Google it. Well, I don't Google anymore. I DuckDuckGo, but you just need to search the internet and you can find out where to acquire these ROMs. Now, like I say, the Intel NUC, the 5th generation one, the 10-year-old one, it runs fine with some of these older games. I haven't tried to do a PlayStation like 2 or 3 game yet, but I mean, it does good with the 8-bit like Commodore 64 games. So yeah, that's part way there. It definitely needs some more configuration, and I didn't really have time in this video for that. So at some point in the future, I'll do a future video where So in the future, I'll go through another video at some point configuring Batocera, setting up controllers, assigning them to users, loading BIOSes, ROMs, other things. But yeah, for now, we got it up and running, and that was a big point for this video. So until next time, please subscribe, comment, and like, and we'll see you then.